Why hello there and welcome to another Dyrus video. Today we'll talk about TSM versus IMT, TSM versus CLG, the new patch, my suggestions on what you should pick and what you should do to climb ELO. I will be answering a couple of questions you guys asked a couple of weeks ago, and I will let you guys know on what I'm doing for recent events. But before all that, let's start with the obligatory speed up the video. Are you done yet? Alright, let's go. Starting with TSM versus IMT, I predicted that it would be TSM versus CLG finals. Although it wasn't something that calculated, I did get to see a couple of the scrims, which kind of gave me an unfair advantage when it came to predictions, but one of the main reasons why I predicted TSM to win against IMT was because Reggie as a coach does so much in the background that people can't always see. A good example of Reggie's coaching can be displayed in TSM Legends, and although it may not show all of it, it gives you a pretty good idea of why TSM always makes it to the finals because Reggie usually steps in at the last moment. Even though NA has been a lot harder this year, if you look at the top four teams, they seem a lot more potent than last year. But on top of that, not only that it's a new roster that with tons of potential, there's also other factors such as Parf coming back in or welding coming on to help the team. And all of these little factors add up. And you honestly don't know who's going to win, but it's been a reoccurring theme. Although I did not expect them to 3-0 them. That was definitely out of my potential outcomes. I guess you could say they didn't get a read on the meta. Anyways, moving on. Talking about the TSM versus IMT VOD reviews. I don't know if I'm going to be doing them or not because it feels like if I do it this much later, then it doesn't become relevant. Although if you guys share your opinions with me, I may still do it, but it's up to you guys. For TSM versus CLG, I predicted that TSM would win 3-1, but it was extremely close and CLG ended up winning. I personally thought TSM finally found their stride and was finally becoming the powerhouse they've always been expected to be. But the way it played out to playoffs, where CLG had a close 3-2 against TL, where TL could have potentially won, it felt like CLG learned a lot more from their semifinal game compared to TSM 3-0ing IMT. I have no idea what happened in these games even though I've watched it, so I would have to do a VOD review to be able to explain it to you guys what exactly happened and why it was so close. But for now, it's just something that I was actually pretty surprised about, and I hope that they continue to learn from it, and I hope that these really close games makes NA stronger as a whole. Anyways, let's talk about the new patch. I found this picture on Tumblr where it explained patch 6.8, and being someone who never reads the patch notes, this picture really helped me. The only relevant things from this picture that I can tell you from my experience is that Tarek is reworked, Echo is pretty much still the same from my solo queue experience, Graves is the same, Rumble can clear waves now, Olaf is stronger but I don't know why, Galio's stronger but I don't know why, and Corrupting Pot is slightly changed but it still feels the same to me, so good luck figuring that stuff out. As for top meta picks, it's still the same as usual, but picking up these champions won't get you out of elo hell. What's important that you understand the mechanics behind these champions, or understand the mechanics behind the champions you already play. The reason why I suggest champions like Garen is because he's extremely simple to play, but you can still play him all the way up to Diamond Elo, believe it or not. Champions like Tryndamere teach you how to auto-attack properly because Tryndamere's whole kit is about auto-attacking and critting people. It teaches you how to go in as long as you can without dying. Tryndamere's kit has a lot of lessons to be learned. You can bait people with Q, you can CC people with W, you can press W to lower everyone's attack, you can learn about mobilities jumping over walls, and on top of that, going back to the ultimate for going in and living as long as you can while trying to get out, that's something that can be applied to all champions and is something that is very overlooked. Now, I'm not saying go in with any champion in the game and play like you're Tryndamere. I'm saying that understand the concept of going in as a champion and living as long as you can, or outputting the most damage you can, or effectively moving back and forth when it comes to auto attacking with ranged melee. Like, learning these concepts are more important than actually like playing the meta picks itself. If you're an Olaf or an Ekton main, you're not gonna get out of gold 3 because you change to like Maokai or Echo. You're gonna get out of gold 3 because you learned how to auto attack, you learned how to snowball, you learned how to like go to certain places at certain times. It's not always about learning many different champions, but it's more about mastering one and using what you learned on that one champion at the highest level you can play and moving it on to other champions. Now I'm going to answer some questions. There was a video I made on April 7th where I asked you guys in the comments to do hashtag Ask Dyrus, but only one guy did it, so I'm going to answer his question. Shan says, thought video on complicated league strats, like why lane swaps happen and why they push so hard. Well, Shan, the truth about lane swaps is it just makes the game more complicated and it just makes you feel like you're not really even playing League half the time. When I played lane swaps, it was just mostly because people wanted to avoid the 1 versus 1 matchup, or they benefited from 2 versus 1. If you have a Renekton top versus like any tank or a Caitlyn Sona bottom, you're gonna not want to lane against those because those lanes are extremely dominant and extremely hard to beat. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna lane swap. You're gonna avoid that lane. You're gonna avoid that early game power spike that they have, and you're going to go and do all these weird maneuvers and rotations around the map to get to mid game without fighting those early game champs. And then when you get to mid game, you've passed your weak point and you'll eventually be stronger than them and have the advantage. This doesn't guarantee the win, but what it does guarantee is that you won't get shit on early in lane. Also, some champs are better at 2 versus 1, but the reason why they do the things this way is because it's been replicated thousands and thousands of times in scrims, and throughout all the thought processes and throughout all the results, this is what everyone came up with. Whether it's NA, Korea, or China, they've all come up with different strategies and they have to all play a certain way to get the most efficiency out of 2 versus 1 that they can get. As for recent events, I'll be in Hawaii from April 23rd to the 29th. I would be going to a convention and I would be visiting family and friends, which means I probably won't be streaming or uploading as much, but once I get back, I want to get on a schedule and give you guys content as consistently as I can. Also, for the Sans parody, I've been constantly working on it and singing every night, but I'm really insecure about my voice, so it's still a work in progress. But it's also something that I won't give up on. Tweet at me at Dyrus and hashtag AskDyrus. I can't pronounce that. If you guys want a chance to be featured in the next vlog. Or not. Kappa.